We're coming in hot with inspiring guests, witty banter, and colorful commentary for today's veterans and military community. This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
Well, hello and welcome to the Tango Alpha Lima experience. I'm Jeff Daly of the Michigan Dailies, although I'm hanging out in sunny Southern California. And my co-host, Ashley Marie Gorbulja Maldonado, is not hanging out in the sun because she is on the East Coast. How is the weather out there?
The weather is nice. It's been a little rainy, but everything is cleared up, so I am content. I will be excited for pool weather. So
all right,
yep.
we would love some of that rain here. So if you want to send it across the land, that would be great. I think we've had enough about us. Let's get into this. You have a topic number one. What is that?
Topic number one. All right, so 102 families are alleging harm from the tainted water at Pearl Harbor, Hackham, and are filing legal claims against the Navy. So more than 100 families have filed claims against the government for illnesses and out-of-pocket expenses they say are related to the drinking fuel tainted water in the homes at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. A November fuel spill forced thousands from their home at Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, and other military housing neighborhoods near Honolulu. Attorneys announced Friday that 102 families are looking for compensation for health conditions and financial harm caused by the spills at the U.S. Navy's Red Hill Fuel Storage Facility. So, yeah, this just comes back to, tainted water, like almost, overlapping with like airport illnesses. There's Camp Pendleton water. There's so many different things here to unpack. But more importantly, the families, right? Like, we never really know the consequences of some of these, these incidences until they've, affected the health and the well-being of our military families. And I hope it works out. It's a long process.
It's tough to sue the government.
It's the government.
Yep, it's tough to sue the government. And I will say that, it's drinking water. They had this problem with drinking water at Camp Lejeune for years that people are just now being able to be compensated for it. And drinking fuel tainted water, that's not the energy drink we want. And so I think the government, they shouldn't have to sue. I think the Navy should voluntarily take care of these people on that.
Yeah. I'm sure it's just like someone somewhere, there's a certain policy or paragraph in line that says what they can and cannot do. And I'm a big believer that, like, if you're gonna follow all the rule books and you're gonna use whatever excuse that's currently in your directive to not take care of people, you better go back to the drawing board and start reworking that up to change it so that it reflects, like, just issues in the immediate and long term, because this stuff happens. History repeats itself, and obviously lessons aren't being learned. And I know that this really kind of wraps up everything that's going on with toxic exposures and the PACT Act, which I don't know if you want to continue to talk about a little bit more, Jeff.
Well, I was just you're actually going right where I was going to go. So this is related. It's not a direct correlation, but the fact that our military puts people in geographic spaces that are then tainted by the same military and government, and we have a responsibility, or as we're calling it, a pact, to take care of them. In this case, because the PACT Act does specifically say for those who served, and which that language might need to be cleaned up, because these families are also there at the directive of the military. So it should be served and or dependents. But here, the PACT Act is a great thing, and we're really behind it. The national commanders asking us to do action. I know there's some people out there who've been putting out links so that you can contact your representatives. And they really want to vote by Memorial Day, so that's coming up really quick. I mean, I hope we can mobilize our forces and get that done. Have you?
Because as soon as if we can, if we can do our part from a civic perspective, continue to push as the largest veteran organization alongside, our other VSOs, MSOs. I think there's a lot of power in numbers, and this is incredibly important. I mean, we're asking the Senate to pass legislation that provides, needed assistance for veterans, inflicted with illnesses associated with, exposure to burn pits and other toxins related to military service. It's just like I said, history repeats itself. I'm like, why are we still having the same conversation? Because if we can get Congress to make that change, what else changes? The way the VA operates, right? Because a lot of people oftentimes they get really mad at the VA, for whatever XYZ reason, but the VA can only do what Congress allows them to do, right? It's your left and right limit. So by passing this allows the VA to do more for veterans, in part by our continued advocacy and alongside with other, of course, VSOs and MSOs.
The VA can do what the VA can do. We need to. It's on us to affect policymakers, and we have some people doing that. I mean, my friend Liz Hartman in North Carolina, she's been on her friends and networks to really reach out to policymakers, and that's how I really got engaged on this subject, other than just reading about it. So I mean, there are people out there really pushing, and I would love for everyone to make their voice heard. If this is something that's important to you, I'm not going to universally say that everyone agrees with it, but if it is something that's important to you, reach out and try to positively affect change. And that doesn't mean posting memes on Facebook, unless that underneath that meme you have a link to where people can where they can contact their legislators. So I mean, I think that's it. Oh, the Legislative Action Center, is that going to be in the show notes? Oh, super producer Holly, ladies and gentlemen, has come up with a way so that you can be productive and not just angry. We have the Legislative Action Center, and she's going to post the link in the show notes. It'll probably be in the email, hopefully, that goes out with the episode, and you too can participate in bettering the lives of your fellow veterans. Wow. Super producer Holly. Not everyone wears a cape, and hers better be short, because she'll be tripping on it if we get her too big of a cape. But we'll be looking for one. Okay. So, I mean, we have talked about things that are toxic, but today we have someone who's not at all toxic. We're going to be joined by Amy Forsythe. That name just screams goodness. And she's an award-winning multimedia journalist and military combat veteran with more than 28 years of experience in storytelling, communications, and media content creation. Amy deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan as a U.S. Marine Corps Combat Correspondent, and now continues to serve as Public Affairs Officer in the United States Reserve. Her imagery and articles have been published on Fox News, CNN, NBC, ABC, Newsweek magazine, Soldier Fortune magazines, and many other news outlets. She recently released the book, Heroes Live Here, as a tribute to those Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton who served and sacrificed in wars since 9/11. Ashley, I know you're going to be excited. Talk to her. And we're going to hear you do just that after the break.
Howdy, folks. Y'all come on out, get out of those recliners and join us for the 2022 100 Miles for Hope Challenge.
The third American Legion Fitness Challenge will raise money again for veterans and military families in need.
We've made big improvements to the 2022 challenge.
Monthly mini challenges with awesome prizes.
Hey, department adjutants, department commanders, let's get some department versus department challenges and get it going. Let's go.
This year, we've made it even easier to track your miles.
We've made it even easier for friends and family to support you through donations to the Veterans and Children Foundation.
My goal this year is to raise $450,000 for the Veterans and Children Foundation. But we need your help.
Get active and help support veterans and military families.
Visit legion.org/100 miles to register and learn more.
And let's show the nation that we are
Veterans Strengthening America.
As advertised, we are here with Amy Forsythe. I don't have to tell you that I'm super excited to have a fellow Marine on here. So welcome to the show, and Semper Fidelis.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm with you guys, and this is great. I love chatting, and we have got a couple great topics to talk about.
We really do, and we can't forget to talk about your book at the end. So when you have that moment, because she doesn't just speak, she writes. You can have her with you at all times. All right, we are going to start out because we're going to talk about a little bit your military and civilian career, because they intertwine, right? You being a journalist of all flavors. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your work as a public affairs officer and what you do every day?
Well, thanks. I started my career as a military journalist, and so I had such awesome training, entry to the Marine Corps. I was a combat correspondent, so I was a photographer and a writer. I also dabbled in video production, radio announcing, my one duty station in Guantanamo Bay. But then I transferred out of active duty and stayed in the reserves. But I went on to get my education, and I currently work as a public affairs officer for the Marine Corps, a civilian at Camp Pendleton. But I also worked in TV as a reporter for many years and a journalist on the civilian side, but really followed my heart back to working for the Department of Defense as a civilian. And so I kind of bundled up all of my skills and can now, work as a federal employee and really give all that I've taken. Really, I've been given so much, so many skills, and now I get to do that on a daily basis. So just sort of rolled it all up into a big bundle. And I work here at Camp Pendleton, which is located in North San Diego County. But we were chatting before, and I told you I'd lived on Guam for almost 5 years and working for the Department of Defense media activity, where I was traveling all over the Indo-Pacific theater, covering large-scale exercises, print writing, video production, and just being able to tell the stories of our military members. It's just been a phenomenal roller coaster ride for the past several years that I've been doing this. So thank you.
So when you started in the military, how did they get you all of these skills? I mean, some people do careers of just doing one of those things. Like, I'm a writer, boom, that's it. That's what they do. A video producer, boom, that's what they do.
Yeah, well, so the DoD was actually ahead of its time when it talked about media convergence. So as an entry into the Marine Corps, I attended the Defense Information School located at Fort Meade, Maryland, where I got to learn all the writing skills of photography, videography, broadcast announcing skills. and also how to do community relations events, how to work with the media, how to prepare senior officers or military members to do on-camera interviews. So we really had an intensive training, and all it lasted about 7 or 8 months. And so I was really lucky to get all of these skills that have really lasted a career. And so now with media convergence, most reporters out there in the civilian industry really need to know how to write, take photos, write video, do on-camera announcing. And so I learned all of that. And so I'm just what they call a one-man band. I shoot and I write. And so it's just really the best of both worlds to be able to pull it all together and decide how to cover a story, what's the best treatment for a particular story. We're talking about our service members, how to really share their courage and what it takes to wear a uniform every day. And that's just something that is just above all other things. I worked in the civilian industry as well, media, but really everyday storytelling of our service members is really my passion, and being able to just look for opportunities to tell our military stories. It's been great.
And it's great. It looks like it's taken you everywhere. I mean, you were talking about the flight, the time on the flight from Guam back to here being like 17 hours or something like that. But you have quite a list. I'm not going to read them all. But is there a story from one of these places that, you know, one of your go-tos at cocktail parties? Because I know people ask you, they have to ask you. This is like an interesting job.
Well, you know, what I love about being in the Navy Reserves now as a public affairs officer is that I can kind of cherry pick assignments. So there's no shortage of opportunities, really, that anytime there's a humanitarian crisis or an emergent issue that comes up, they put a call out for public affairs officers. So besides being mobilized and serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, I served 5 total combat tours. But in 2019, I had the opportunity to be the public affairs officer in Romania and Poland, where the Navy has, surprisingly, it's totally landlocked bases, but the Navy has bases there in Romania and Poland. So I bounced between the 2 bases for 2019, talking about our ballistic missile defense systems that are positioned in Europe and Eastern Europe. And so getting to experience that as a public affairs officer and working with Missile Defense Agency and our NATO partners, our host nation, really was an amazing opportunity. So that's one great reason of staying in the reserves, but it has offered the opportunity for travel and to be kind of a road warrior, as they call it. So I was just really blown away by Poland, especially. I didn't really know much about it, and it was short fuse, so I didn't really have a lot of time to do the research of like what to expect. But when I got to Poland, it was just an amazing, eye-opening experience about Eastern Europe and how far they've come, obviously since World War II. And so now in today's news, when we see that Poland borders Ukraine, and we've got all these refugees, and we have an influx and a surge of troops going to Poland, they're getting to experience the beauty of Poland and really that culture that we often Americans don't get to see, because it's not on the beaten path of when you go to Europe, you don't think going to Poland. And so getting that opportunity to be in Poland, and that knowing that America has troops there and staging bases just in case something like this happens. So proud to say that I was experienced Poland firsthand, because it's an amazing place to visit.
Outstanding. Ash?
Taking it all in, like vicariously living through you right now. Like this is fantastic. As a adjacent public affairs officer and a federal employee, very different experiences. But I will say this, you know, having that combat correspondence, and then the PAO, and having the Fort Meade experience where you go to DINFOS, to all the things you've been working on, it's really awe-inspiring. And I think you've had an amazing career, and there's just like the best is yet to come. It always feels like, for anyone who's in the, you know, public affairs space, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's exciting. And yeah, just my random thoughts. But my random thoughts. So, you know, you've traveled all these unique places. I'm curious. I know that you recently released a book, right? So you released Heroes Live Here. And I know that it's, a tribute to honor those Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton and those that have since, been sacrificed themselves in the wars of 9/11. So I'm curious to see a little bit more of the inspiration, behind the book, or if you have some sort of story that you'd like to share that it's kind of your aha moment as a writer to put it, pen to paper.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Yes. Actually, funny you should ask is because when I came back to Camp Pendleton and my commute every day was about 45 minutes and I go through base to get to my office, and having been stationed here for many years while I was on active duty and returned, I noticed that the memorials and markers and tributes have gone up all over base in the 20 years of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And when I would drive past this, I took some pictures and I thought maybe I could share them with Gold Star families because they don't have access to the base. And so being able to share those with those that were a tribute to the Marines and sailors that were killed that were based at Camp Pendleton, it's like, maybe I should put this together so that more people can really understand the significance of Camp Pendleton. So I put it all together in this book called Heroes Live Here. And just a beautifully put together book. I had a graphic designer put together some graphic images, even something called the Wall of Honor. You can see there, and basically paying tribute to the Marines that stepped off from Camp Pendleton and went to Iraq and Afghanistan and never came home. And it was kind of personal because when I came back from my 2006 deployment, we lost one of our own, Major Megan McClung. And when we got home, we etched out a rock with her name on it and put it up on the top of this hill where we used to run all the time. And we called it McClung Ridge. And so even though we weren't supposed to do that, because you're not supposed to have unsanctioned tributes on base because everybody would be doing it. But noticing that there were so many of these tributes around the base for people to remember fallen Marines. And in my research in the book, I learned that more service members that were based at Camp Pendleton or that any one station were killed during Iraq and Afghanistan from anywhere in the country. So this surrounding community has been so supportive of those that we've lost. And so over 1,000 just from Camp Pendleton alone through the 20-year period. And so that's a whole generation of new Marines that are coming up behind that don't necessarily know exactly the sacrifices that were made during those years after 9/11. And so some of the first troops that were killed in Afghanistan and Iraq were based at Camp Pendleton. So that legacy is strong here in that commitment because Camp Pendleton Marines are geographically aligned to the Middle East. And so that's why a bulk of them had just done rotation after rotation after rotation. So the base is filled with so many wonderful tributes. And so I couldn't capture them all, but I've got a good handful of them in this book. And so for any Marine station here at Camp Pendleton through the years, it'll be a nice memento and a nice tribute to look through and really just open the door for those Marines coming up behind to learn kind of like that period in our history of what that sacrifice really looked like. As you all know, that the constant steady drumbeat of deployment of a constant steady state of combat operations for 20 years just took a toll on our country, but even the families and the community here in Oceanside and Carlsbad, Fallbrook, San Clemente, Dana Point. So there's some strong supporters out there in the community, and this is just really a love letter to them.
I love it. I think that's really impactful. It makes us think of a gentleman that we interviewed in past episodes, who's the CEO for Global War on Terrorism Foundation, and how he described very vividly him and his wife's journey, early 2000s, and now watching his son deploy, right? So, and then having a grandfather and then uncles who served in World War II, just in Vietnam, right? So like having all of these sequential generations of family who have gone to war, but to be in the same, time gap to watch your son of, young age, like it makes you think, right? It makes you think. So I'm really happy that you've put together this book that is going to continue to honor and remember those who have since passed to preserve our freedoms. And it's very important, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. And
That's
so
so
Camp,
sweet.
that's
She's
so
never
very
like that with
nice.
me.
I know. It's I learned a lot in the publishing process. So it's something I hadn't done before, and never thought in a million years I would put together a book. But with some good help and learning a few hard lessons, really just made it happen over the last 18 months. And so for anyone, I love just opening doors and ideas for other people, that sharing your story can be so inspirational, and it might be someone else's survival guide. So, a family out there who I've captured their Marine son or daughter in this book, they can just take comfort in knowing that we remember them and we appreciate their sacrifices. And so Camp Pendleton is kind of like it's like a time capsule, because this year marks the 80th anniversary of Camp Pendleton, where Marines, took over the land, or, set up base camp and started preparing men for World War II, and then Korea and Vietnam and Desert Storm, and now with Iraq and Afghanistan. So the base actually is filled with many markers and memorials through the ages. So for people who want to visit, they can visit these treasured memorials. So it was just a special place that I spent many years, and now I'm back to tell that story and help translate what that means to everyone here.
I home based on the East Coast, as you know, because we spoke about that. But I wouldn't stop selling this as a target market to only Pendleton Marines, because I would like that book. And the alphas that didn't see, that's what we call people who listen to the show. The alphas who didn't see you hold up that book, they don't know that it's actually quite beautiful. And I hope we get a photo of it into the email when we announce this episode, because it's a really well put together book. And I would be interested in that, because that is the life I wish I had in the military. Camp Pendleton, I was just there in February, and I haven't been there since boot camp, because I went to MCRD San Diego, and it's beautiful. It's this gargantuan, and there's just so many, and like you said, there's so many great stories through 80 years. That's a lot of conflicts. So I think a lot of people would be interested in that book, even who didn't serve at Camp Pendleton. So kudos to you. Now, I want to move on, unless you have more about the book, Ashley.
No. By all
Ashley's
means.
Ashley's a big reader.
I am an avid
and,
reader.
And contrarily, I'm a Marine. So this is amazing. And again, we're saying this again, our former co-host would be over the moon about this next thing. You're not just known as being an author and a journalist. You are known for spotting and calling out a person of stolen valor. And I'm not even going to set up the question. I just kind of want to hear the story of how this erupted.
Wow. Yes. Using social media as a means of entertainment and connecting the dots or connecting with other people is awesome. But being a journalist myself, I'm very skeptical about people and things. I always have to double check and fact check and cross-reference people's names, positions, stories. And so it's just natural for me to be skeptical about things. But on Instagram, this was a few months back, I was noticing a call out for donations for a young female Marine claiming to have cancer, from an organization that I absolutely love, Hunter 7 Foundation, who's doing great work by advocating for service members who have an illness, post-service deployment, cancers or other illnesses, and got to be friends with Chelsea, who's the foundation director. And I noticed that she was the one advocating for donations on behalf of this female Marine in pictures. And so when I saw that, I took a closer look at the pictures because I had never heard of this person before. And surely as a female staff sergeant, I was a staff sergeant, and being in public affairs, I get to know a lot of people and get to know their backstories. But I was noticing the first thing that stuck out in my mind was her earrings were incorrect. She was wearing unauthorized earrings in her dress blue uniform that was a picture. And then I started looking a little bit closer that her ribbons were, she was wearing a Bronze Star, claiming to have been injured in combat. And then she also was wearing a Bronze Star with V for valor. And that really got my attention because, as you know, that those are just not given away. That's a big deal. And I had never heard of this person before. So I instantly emailed her and I said, I'm suspect about this person. Are you sure? And she's like, well, it's on the news and she's been on TV and so on and so forth. And so she sent me a screen grab of her DD-214 that she was claiming VA benefits for. And I said, this is fake. This is copy and pasted. And so we went back and forth. And even that night, I went on the Female Marines Facebook group and I asked if there was any female Marines who could verify her service through a system that we have. And sure enough, there was someone in Hawaii who was there daytime. She was an admin with Access. She went on and verified that this person, Sarah Kavanaugh, there was no service, and that didn't match. And so that got the wheels turning for a closer look and more investigation into the matter. So as it turns out, this person was a complete fraud, stealing money from generous organizations designed to help our veterans. And she claimed to be a combat wounded veteran with cancer. And she was bilking service organizations out of tens of thousands of dollars. It was just unbelievable what she was doing.
Was there so what happened? Was there any consequence for her?
Well, as we're waiting, authorities were alerted and law enforcement got involved. The FBI did an investigation. They raided her home and she was arrested and she's being charged with 4 felony counts. And so she's awaiting trial right now. So we'll see. She's in Rhode Island, but she was claiming to be a Marine staff sergeant, parading around in uniform, that she was Purple Heart recipient, had cancer. And so she was even hired by service organizations as a detachment commander, post commander, VFW, I believe. And so what we learned from this is that those service organizations really need to ask questions, verify information, fact check, cross-reference before we start giving people money. We trust all veterans, but we just need to do a better job of verifying their service connection, or they are who they say they are. And so what we feel like sometimes they're so anxious to get younger generations involved is that they'll just welcome anyone who says I serve, but we really need to do that homework and make sure we're fact checking, because otherwise this person took advantage of very generous people who want to give money to those most deserving. And that's really a shame that she got so far along in the process and she worked really hard at lying and creating this persona that no one actually verified who she was. And we need to get better at that.
Well, to be fair to the posts, they don't have a you, number one. Like, there's only one you. And our job at the post is to check the DD-214. Now, this person is a long conner and had a very legit seeming DD 214. So I think I think that's a security gap. And I don't know how to close it, because I mean, I do membership at my post and I'm a volunteer, right? I'm probably not gonna, we bring in over 100 people every year. I'm probably not gonna be able, I don't have the resources to do that. I don't have the know-how to do that. Are there any prescriptives you can think of? Like, I wouldn't notice the earrings, by the way. I don't know why, but I would be interested to know how we could improve this.
Well, that's great question, because I think with a strong veteran network out there, everyone might notice something different, or there's something that doesn't add up, or, and there isn't a lot of these cases. So it's very few and far between, but when they happen, it gets people's attention. So just being alert and really asking questions about their service. And it takes a veteran to know a veteran, right? So, she worked on her stories and her demeanor, and people seemingly trusted her because she seemed trustworthy. And so trying to get to a place where we can just do a fact check, a database or a cross-reference that exists, I think will be helpful. She was wanting to be involved in some other veteran service organizations, and they trusted her and wanted to help her. And so that's our nature, is to want to help other veterans in need. And so it's hard to distrust someone who says that they served, and our nature is to want to help them. But I think that with some good sourcing and maybe a quick reference to other databases, just to fact check would be amazing. Or ask other veterans, hey, do you know this person? Did you ever hear about this person? Bronze Star with V. I've worked with the media through the years, and that would have definitely been a story that they wanted to tell, but I'd never heard of it before. So a quick Google search came up, nothing in the media. That would have definitely been covered in the past. And so, but it was just a hunch. And so I didn't want to say anything until I verified, because I wouldn't want to be wrong about questioning someone's service without a fact check. But, we have to trust our instincts sometimes. People's instincts are spot on. And before we say anything, though, it's just always good to fact check. So I don't want to be too critical or scrutinize too much, but I think that those are some ways to prevent others who want to jump into that fray of trying to con people or scam people in that stolen valor, or saying, we will find you because we have a strong veteran network out there among us. We can definitely spot and smell a faker a mile away.
And that's good advice for the posts in general out there, because we have a great membership, and the integrity of that membership is really important for its prolonged health of the general membership, right? You can't have too much of these toxic kind of people in there. And as you were saying that, we have that want to help those veterans. We also have a strong desire to see them thrown under the jail if they betray us. So I'm glad that, I hope that this gets more coverage, because I don't want people doing this. Like, clearly I don't want people doing this, but I don't want people doing this, and I don't want people getting away with it. And for the posts out there that barely check the DD 214s, check them, look at them. If something looks weird, ask questions. I mean, it takes just a little bit of effort. And on top of that, and it's off topic, but do a quick Google search, find out if they're on Megan's list or other such things, so that you can protect children in the post and things like that. There are a lot of people who target veterans organizations, and we gotta stop them, because it's terrible. The integrity of our membership is really important, and I appreciate the work that you did on this, and I'm glad that it's getting some notoriety, because it alerts us all to the very real danger. So yeah, thanks so much for doing that, and really thank you for the book. I'm going to get one, and I'm going to donate it to my post. If you're selling them, I'm going to buy it from you and then have you sign it, and then I'm going to put it in my post library. Library. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. I got an Ashley so much for saying library, and I just did it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Library.
Words are hard. Okay, I forgive you.
So thank you for that. Do you, Ashley, have any final thoughts?
Yeah, as far as stolen valor, I will just echo the sentiment here, like, ask questions, trust your gut. I've encountered a few folks to that caliber in my time while I was working in higher ed. I'd have people come in and I'd ask them a few questions about their service, and they really didn't know. I was like, what? No, that doesn't line up. Or, I've seen different things throughout my career, and I've reviewed stories, and I've seen things, everybody. And I think we're right to, ask the questions, trust but verify. Trust but verify. Do a little fact check,
I hope you see things with those big old glasses you got on there.
I can see into the future with these glasses. Thank you very much.
You can see through.
Do you want me to tell you what's going to happen on your birthday?
Right. Which is May 21st, if anybody out there cares. Okay, so thank you so much for that, and thank you for being on our show and all of the work that you're doing and do. They can see you basically everywhere on every news station possible. Your work has probably been seen, and I'm looking forward to what you're going to do next, because I have no idea. It could be anything. You're that Dinfos trained killer, I've heard people say. And it was funny because it's mostly said by an Air Force veteran I know. So thanks again, and thank you for being on our show. Alphas out there, we're going to be right back with you, and enjoy the break.
Honoring those who came before us. The American Legion pays perpetual respect for all past military sacrifices to ensure they are never forgotten by new generations. We are veterans strengthened in America. We are the American Legion.
Wow, we are back, and I am just full of hope and for the future and goodness and faith in humanity, because Amy Forsythe is a force. See what I did there? Forsythe. She is a force of goodness, and and she's a Marine, so I'm biased. But what was your takeaway?
So I think my main takeaway is that, Amy is incredibly well-rounded, right? When you're a multimedia journalist and you're a military combat vet that was, that combat correspondent, there is just a level of badassery there that cannot be duplicated. And she is an incredibly impressive woman. And, she's very thoughtful, even with her, release of her book and remembering and honoring, fellow Marines. And I am really impressed with her, and I think she's going to continue to do amazing things, and she loves what she does, right? I think that was pretty obvious, and I think if we're half as lucky as humans to find our calling and then be in our calling and make a difference like she has, I think we'll all be on the straight and narrow. So those are my thoughts.
I love your thoughts. So let's just thank Amy Forsythe for not just being on the show, but being so active in the greater global community, because she's doing great work, and sometimes those people don't know it, because they're living it. So thank you, Amy Forsythe. And now, it's our favorite time of the day.
Nap time.
Rapid fire. Pew, 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 pew. All right, you ready? These are all for you.
They're me.
Yeah.
For me. Oh boy.
Okay, we're gonna start that. This is rapid fire number 1. Parris Island Marine Band is up for. I should have let Jarek put in the drums. He'll probably drown me out. They're up for an Emmy. Here's how South Carolina nurse inspired the piece. An original composition performed by the Parris Island Marine Band, inspired by its musical director's wife and her work as a nurse during the COVID-19 pandemic, has been nominated for an Emmy. You Were There salutes the first responders who continued to work at the height of the pandemic, from doctors and nurses to grocery store workers to garbage collectors. They were there when we all needed them, said Mark Pellon, Pellon, a Chief Warrant Officer 3 at Marine Corps Recruit Depot Parris Island and music director of the band. And because of that, the Marines will be there when they need us. And that was kind of the premise for the entire message. This isn't the president's own, the Marine Corps band. This is the Parris Island Marine Corps band. It's not even their full-time job, I don't think, but they came together and they put this together, and they're gonna be nominated for an Emmy. Yeah, I'm seeing your face.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. See, I know, like, Jeff gets really excited. Like, you get excited about this stuff because you're just like awards and like production and music and videography. I'm just here like, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
That's it.
It is. It's incredibly impressive. I don't really understand.
All
the award stuff, but like, this is a big deal, and I'm super happy for them. And it takes a lot of hard work, and I'm glad it came from like a place of really like heart-wrenched and heartfelt meaning.
And you would be smiling from where are you at? Virginia, DC, from DC to Wisconsin, if you heard this. I'm just so I hope that you do sometime today. Give it a listen, and you will be filled with the spirit of the Eagle Globe and Anchor that went into making this song. I'm just saying. All right, it's time now for rapid fire. Pew pew. That's 2. All right, the Vital computer system has gone down more than 50 times since launching in Washington. The VA confirms. You're going to have thoughts on this, I'm sure. An electronic health record system piloted at Spokane's VA hospital and other sites in the inland Northwest has been partly or completely unusable at least 50 times since its launch in 2020. The Department of Veterans Affairs confirmed. I don't even need to read anymore. What do you think of that?
No comment.
Is that job security? No comment again. All right. I will say this. I'd be like super shocked. But then I remembered when I was in the VA hospital and the MRI was unavailable and broken for 8 days. So downtime is something they're used to managing. They hope they get this fixed.
I hope they get it fixed too.
Wow.
They need to get it fixed. They need to figure it out. They need to select specific people for project managers. They need to take a real big look, real wide lens on everyone who has their hands on this project. And it's time to,
I have never seen you
cut
be
the slack,
more careful.
cut the fat, and trim it up and get the right people on some of this stuff. Not to say there's a lot of bureaucratic obstacles, but priorities, people. Let's make it happen.
You were very careful with your words, more so than even when you said sugar snaps last episode. Okay. This is my favorite. This one is my favorite. This may be the most Air Force of all Air Force stories. And Holly reminded me that we had a story about their recruits having iPads and bean bags during basic training. But this may be the most Air Force of all the Air Force stories. And to all you PJs and those combat air traffic controllers who do real badassery stuff, when you tell people you're in the Air Force, this is what they think. And I know better, but this is what they think. All right, rapid fire number, pew, pew, pew. That's 3. Not all superheroes wear capes, but many have superpowers. In Staff Sergeant Ryan Jett's case, his superpower is using automation like a laser beam to slice through dozens of hours of busy work for himself and his colleagues. So the title of this article was Airman Says to Tedious Repetitive Tasks for Comrades Stuck in Paperwork Hell. He slays them. Slays the paperwork hell. What do you think? Huh?
I'm all about it. If there is one thing that I took away from my time in service is that not only was I military police, but I was also like an admin professional. And a lot of people don't realize that when you're in military police positions, you have to do a lot of paperwork. And that was like one of the things that many soldiers, when we would have to like go back and train on, they just didn't know how to do the paperwork. And then, you'd have your S1s trying to square you away with all of your other administrative paperwork to make sure you get your benefits, make sure you get paid, make sure your promotion packet, everything. And then the thing is too, like even the Army, there's just these multiple systems and some of them don't talk to each other. And, for the best example I can give, Robert, my husband, loves to come home and tell me what kind of new training he has to take to learn a new system that may or may not talk to the system he needs or may not have clearance to operate, which directly affects like a whole ripple effect of stuff. So I'm always excited when people are able to streamline and work smarter, not harder, so we can get to the important stuff like training, right? Like the admin stuff is equally as it's important, it has its place, but if we have to spend all of our time like just navigating stuff that could be reduced from a usability standpoint, we should. And this is my personal opinion. I think we need to stop doing these contractors. Like they'll get these contracts out there and it's like the lowest bidder kind of stuff. Like some of these programs are just crap, just from pure experience and having to work with them and knowing plenty of, readiness NCOs and training NCOs, and at least from the guard side, that would just be consumed all work day, all week, and then the drill. Anyway,
all I have to say to that is, yeah, but this guy cut, as if you read it, dozens of man hours of paperwork, and he's getting high recognition. In fact, I found this on the front page of Task and Purpose. That's how Air Force this is. And to start it, not all heroes wear capes, but many have superpowers. Huh?
I feel like that's like a quote from Incredibles, where Edna's just like, no capes, no capes.
Okay, because I do get it, Miss Staff Sergeant Ryan Jett. I do get it. You did the automation thing. You brought it, and good on you. And I hope you get a great review or what. I don't know what the Air Force does.
He'll get promoted. He's going to do well.
Yeah, he got commendation for it. Yay, Air Force. But
now go out there and train people. Go out and train. Create some sort of.
I mean, he's a staff sergeant.
To mentor.
He's a staff sergeant. He's not a colonel.
Well, I need him to find the colonels. I need him to tell the colonels to get off their bums and advocate and make some mentorship and training opportunities available to him to teach people how to do this.
Yes.
He should be the one teaching the class.
All right. So with that, I'm almost afraid to ask, do you have any shout outs today?
No, I do not.
You don't have any shout outs today?
No shout outs.
Wow. You just
oh wait.
Yeah.
I do have a shout out. I recently went to I've been trying to go to more Virginia posts, and I had an opportunity to go to Springfield Post 176 in Virginia. which was really exciting. They had a really nice Cinco de Mayo event that I attended. Had a great time. Got to meet the commander, some of the other officers, some of the riders. Tried my luck at raffle tickets. No luck, but
Did you
hey,
win?
it was a
No, you didn't
no.
win?
I never win at those things, but it was great. It was a great time. Met a lot of amazing people in the community. Got to explore their like very advanced community like center. It really is like got a banquet hall. They've got a warrior cafe. They've got meeting space. They've got a like a VA Atlas space. Then they've got like their own kind of like bar. They've got like outdoor seating downstairs, upstairs. It was really impressive. It was an impressive building.
All right.
So great community center, great people, and great
I
food.
will-
By the way. Oh,
okay.
so good.
Well, I'm gonna do a quick shout out. I mentioned Liz Hartman earlier. Her post is it's North Carolina 539. I think it's New Bern or Cherry Point. I think it's Cherry Point. They put out a thing about what they do. I'm actually gonna send it to Holly. They have a whole thing about what they do, the things that they have done, and I mean, they are not a large post, and they will find a veteran in trouble, and they took one and sponsored him, getting him off the street all the way to getting a job and getting his own apartment. And they basically adopted him and did that. And I mean, this is too long. I'm not going to read all the stuff that they do, but this is an example of a small post doing their bit to serve the community. And so I'm going to shout out whatever post I just said. I think it's 539 in North Carolina, and my friend Liz Hartman is the current commander of that, and she is also badassery. So that's my shout out for today. And I think that's why don't you take us out?
Alrighty then. So don't forget to subscribe to Tango Alpha Lima podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you consume your podcasts. Please, leave us a review and give us a big old 5-star rating so the world knows how much you enjoy us and me, particular Jeff's. Or if you want to, let us know if you want to have a guest recommendation. You can go to legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima and click on the suggest a guest link.
That's outstanding. So I'm going to call you all out. Come on, Alphas. We need you to share this podcast with everyone. Not a couple of people that we want everyone that listening. Put the YouTube playlist on loop at your post. That would be outstanding. You could hear and see Ashley wax on about something nerdy over and over and over again, and she would just love that. Talk about to others at your post in the community. Let's get viral with it. No, is there a song for that? Okay. We're not going to get viral with it. We got to go. I got work to do. I got to share it myself. I got emails to do about Tango Alpha Lima. So with that, I'm going to declare season 3, episode 105, mission complete.